Hey guys, it's Dr. Matt, and this is the fourth attempt I've sat down to try to record this for you. I am super excited to play this for you and to do this for you because I'm super excited about Club 500. It's been a dream of mine for about 5 years now. I've been working in various ways of getting this to the public, but the thing I love about it is it's going to make people healthier and happier. It's going to put it all in one package, and it's going to be awesome. And it's going to use what I've learned over the last 12 years of intense studying on the Paleolithic primal lifestyle, hormones, biochemistry, etc. Be able to put it in a package and present it to people, and I'm super, super excited for that. Okay, so why did I think of this initially? Initially, I was working out, and we'll get into pretty soon um, the importance of working out. But I was working out because I knew it was important, a new important part of my lifestyle. And I thought, why does this have to suck? Why do I hate doing this every day? Why do I have to use half of my willpower for the entire day just to convince myself to walk down the steps to my basement and work out? And I try to keep my workouts short. They're pretty much in tune and aligned with the Club 500 workouts we're going to be doing because that's the optimal way to optimize your hormones. So you not only burn fat during the 30 to 45 to 50 minutes you're working out, you burn fat for the entire 24 hours after you're done. So that's the kind of workouts I do. And I was just like, oh man, why does this suck? Why do I hate doing this? And I thought, oh, you know what? I enjoy playing basketball. I enjoy going for runs. I enjoy playing tennis. I enjoy playing football and baseball and softball. I enjoy going for hikes. I enjoy throwing the ball with my kids. And why does this have to suck? I enjoy games. I don't like working out. So what if working out could be a game? That's where the idea of Club 500 was born. I thought, what if we got 30 minutes, go as hard as you can, empty the tank, and do your best to score 500 points. And so we had to put numbers around those points and quantify that and qualify that. And we worked on that for a long time. We just finally figured something out, and so I'm so excited to actually put this in a platform. And then also the ideas of incorporating all the other pieces of the recipe for health into this just got me super excited. Over the years, I've learned there's a recipe for health, and my family has enjoyed abundant health, more so than I ever thought possible for myself. I was sick all the time before I learned all this stuff, always using my sick days, et cetera, et cetera. And now I've enjoyed abundant health for the last 12 years, and so has my family. And it's not by accident, it's because we've been employing this recipe. And it's frustrating for people because they hear one thing here and they hear another thing there and then they read another thing there and then somebody else tells them something. There's not one answer to health. There is a recipe, and we're going to put all that together in Club 500. If you enjoy chocolate chip cookies and somebody's like, "Oh, you like chocolate chip cookies? Well, here, then take this bite of flour because that's in chocolate chip cookies." And you're like, "Ugh." And they say, "Oh, here, just take this spoonful of sugar." And like, that's pretty good, but it's doesn't taste great on its own. If you take each ingredient of a chocolate chip cookie on its own, it's not amazing. But if you put it all together, you get this delicious thing. And that's what we're doing with Club 500. So about me, Dr. Matthew Hansen is my name. I'm a chiropractor. Got a doctorate from Northwestern Health Sciences University in 2009. Chiropractors are primary healthcare physicians. We have a doctorate in chiropractic, and we spend more hours in the classroom than medical doctors. It is 10 semesters, so 5 years basically of study. We condense it into a little over 3.5 because we go in the summertime, but fairly challenging curriculum. Mostly every semester was about 30 credit hours, which I think 12 credit hours is considered a full load. So it's more than double that. So we're in class a lot, and really interesting, eye-opening stuff when I started getting into it. I have a bachelor's in religion and philosophy. So religion and philosophy is all about how the world works on a metaphysical or ethereal plane, how you think about stuff. And then chiropractic is completely based in science. And so it's two different worlds. I went from one world to another world. And I was pretty nervous about it. But I found that I had an aptitude for science because I had to take about 2 years worth of science in order to actually qualify to even get into chiropractic school. I was able to do that in an accelerated fashion because I found it so enjoyable. I was able to get 2 years of biology, 2 years of chemistry, uh, and 2 years of physics done in 9 months just because I once I got into it, I just started devouring it. And so I've always been kind of a self-learner, self-starter in that sense. But it was really cool to come from the world of religion and philosophy to the world of science and see, we think there's so much of a difference between the two, but there's really not. There's more similarity than there is differences. And having, a foothold in both worlds, I was able to see around corners and think a little differently than people typically would. And so that's always been a thing I've been really interested in. I'm a primal lifestyle expert. I would call myself that. There was a period in time where I had read everything in print pertaining to the paleo and primal lifestyle. Dozens and dozens and dozens of books and papers and videos, etc. Everything that was available at one time I had read. And so I have been teaching this and implementing the paleo and primal lifestyle with my patients for a number of years, and it's helped a ton of people get out of chronic pain or get out of chronic sickness. Anything from, infertile couples able to have babies through some of the work we've done pertaining to that to, people who couldn't, get up out of their chair and stand for more than 5 minutes, now living a full, active, healthy lifestyle, golfing and playing with their kids, etc. I've lectured dozens of times to the lay public, and was actually asked by one of the major health food wholesaling companies in the world to lecture to their customers. So I have lectured all over the country as well to doctors and chiropractors and medical doctors, etc., on the paleo and primalistic lifestyle. I'm host of the radio show Your Cornerstone in Health. I'm the co-author of the newspaper column Back Talk. In both of those, I basically just spread the message: the body's self-healing, self-organizing. You have a body, mind, and spirit. If you take care of them, they'll take care of you. We are meant to experience health, and just talking about that in different ways from different avenues. I'm a certified first-line functional medicine practitioner. Comes from a really long lineage of very smart folks. Linus Pauling, the only human being in history to win 2 Nobel Prizes, had a protege. His name was Jeffrey Bland, and he is who I learned functional medicine from. Really blessed to be able to have that opportunity. But functional medicine basically looks for the root cause of problems. It doesn't look to medicate to cover up symptoms. It actually looks to address deficiencies or toxicities in people. And as we'll get to, you can take care of a lot of stuff by being able to do that. I'm the co-owner of Cornerstone Chiropractic. We are in the top 1% of clinics in the country in terms of the patients we see and the people we help. Officially in the top 1%, which we're pretty proud of. We're able to do that just by getting out of our own way and helping people to realize that they can be healthier and better if they just give themselves the opportunity. The body's default mode is to heal and to be better and healthier than it was the day before. And if we give it that opportunity, it just does. And it's a blessing and a miracle to be able to walk away from myself and be able to see that every day at work. Simple philosophies that I follow. Number one, the world is perfect, just not complete, and working to get towards completion. It helps you to de-stress a lot. It helps you to realize the world is perfect, it's just not done yet. It's just working to get more complete. And where I'm at is I'm looking at the garage right now in the middle of being cleaned out. And you can't be mad at it for being messy when it's in the middle of being cleaned. That has to do with myself personally. I know that I'm perfect yet not complete. That has to do with you. You are perfect and not complete. That has to do with our city, our country, our world. It's perfect yet not complete. And that gives me a lot of peace and gives me a lot of positivity towards the future. Second personal philosophy is the body is self-healing and self-regulating, and it does that through our nervous system. And if we take care of that, it will run everything efficiently and do pretty amazing stuff. And third, you have a body, mind, and spirit, and if you take care of them, they will take care of you. I'm going to mention that a few times here, but again, with that recipe, we have to look at the body, mind, and spirit. And the awesome thing about Club 500 is it gives us the opportunity to do that, to look at all 3 aspects of somebody's life and then expand that out and dial in and geek out about it. And I'm so excited about it. So, before hacking hormones, I was 45 pounds heavier. I was an athlete in college and in high school, and been in the gym for a long time. Stopped playing sports in college after my sophomore year, and I was like, you know what? I've been in the gym constantly for the last 10 years. I want to take a little break from that. So I did, but I kept on eating as if I was an athlete, and as a result, put on quite a bit of weight. And I am not blessed with great genetics. That's my dad sitting next to me there. We are Scandinavian, and we are really stubborn about holding on to all the fat we've ever had in our life and keeping it like Scrooge McDuck's precious dime. We just do not want to get rid of that fat if we don't have to. And so after hacking my hormones, I've learned to be a lot leaner. So this is me now. Not in the shape I'd want to be in, but definitely a lot leaner than I was before. And that was 2009, so I'm quick math in my head, 10, 11, 13 years ago. I'm healthier and fitter now than I was back then in my 20s. Obligatory Instagram photo, sorry about that. Just so you know, I practice what I preach. This is a recent photo taken of me showing off my beach muscles there. Hacking hormones. So a lot of the next 5 or 6 slides we're going to go into, I could probably talk for an hour on each of them. But I just want to give a really brief overview, because to sum up my thoughts and what I've learned is that if we hack our hormones, if we focus on that, we get a lot more bang for our buck, meaning we can do less and get better results, meaning our clients, our patients, etc. can do less and get better results. Use less willpower and look better in the mirror and get better test results back from their doctor, etc., etc. So there's about 7 metabolically active hormones I kind of follow and learn about. 4 of the most important ones, in my opinion, are insulin being the key most important one. Some of the biggest reasons why our country is being bankrupted right now by our healthcare industry is because we're spending so much money on dealing with problems associated with insulin. Some of you might have heard of insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, syndrome X, and then the big one, diabetes. So insulin, leptin, ghrelin, and peptide YY are some of my favorites. Insulin does its job of getting glucose out of the bloodstream. Why? Because glucose is one of the most toxic things that we can experience in our bloodstream. It's very toxic, in fact, to small blood vessels, which we have a lot of in our feet, kidneys, and eyes. And people with diabetes, what happens? They go blind, they get their feet cut off, and they go on dialysis because of the glucose. So insulin's job is to get that glucose out of the bloodstream and into the cell. Once it gets in the cell, it turns into fat. Not a great thing, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Leptin. Leptin is a satiety hormone. Tells us when we're full. Has a inverse and direct relationship with insulin. Ghrelin is what tells us when we need to eat. It is the hormone of hunger. And then peptide YY is pretty similar to leptin and just takes place in the gut more so than the bloodstream and the brain. All of those brought into pretty healthy alignment with insulin. Then we've got some other hormones too, which I like to focus on. Testosterone, estrogen, and cortisol. Testosterone, men and women both need. Balance is different, but men and women both need it. Testosterone burns fat and builds muscle. And there are ways to optimize testosterone through your diet and through exercise, and that's exactly what Club 500 is meant to do. Estrogen, again, necessary for both men and women, does spare fat, and we want the balance to be right in both men and women. Cortisol, the stress hormone. This hormone was originally meant to get pumped through our veins so we could run away from a tiger or fight a bear. We now are producing it when we have a deadline at work or somebody cuts us off in traffic. And so it gets burned up in those quick, short bursts of energy, which we have in Club 500, so we can detox those. Because otherwise, when it happens during the day, we got a deadline coming up, our cortisol spikes, and we just sit there and stew in it, and it's basically toxic to us. And when cortisol is present, fat loss is not possible. Another hormone on this list, I'm just going to say that about too. When insulin is present, it's almost impossible to burn fat. So we want to optimize our testosterone, and we want to optimize our insulin. Taking care of those two things, we got her covered. Okay, some hormone hackers we have here. So I love this slide on top of the 3 Aboriginal gentlemen. Now, they are hormone hackers by default. We are modeling Club 500 after what they did naturally. which was to lift heavy things, walk and sprint, and to eat foods that did not affect their insulin. They did that naturally because they didn't have a Starbucks next to them. They didn't have a 7-Eleven next to them. They ate what was available on the land. The guy below that, one of my huge mentors in this whole paleo primal thing, his name is Mark Sisson. He is in his 60s and looks fantastic. And through the books I've read and lectures I've attended of his, really kind of got me on the right path to moving forward. And I'm so excited that Club 500 can finally come around so I can put all the ideas I've gotten from all these things into one place. I'm going to draw your attention again to the slide above, the three gentlemen. The one in the middle, you can see gray beard, gray hair, gray beard, gray hair. And that's one of the things that inspires me the most to create Club 500 and to do all this. Because you look at that guy and you say, okay, he's in his 60s, maybe early 70s, and he is not a drain on his tribe. He is fighting, he is hunting, he's probably sexually active, he's probably physically active. He is not putting a burden onto his family. He is aging and getting into his golden years and still being an asset to his community. Isn't that what we all want? We all kind of fear getting older because we fear being useless. We fear not being able to do the things we want to, but that's not the case. And there's a really simple formula to get us that way. I've heard countless times being in the healthcare industry for a lot of years and just people talking about it. Once you turn 30, every year after that, you lose a pound of muscle and you gain a pound of fat. And that actually, you know what? That's true if you eat over 150 carbohydrates a day. If you're eating over 150 carbohydrates a day, you will likely every year after you turn 30 put on a pound of fat and lose a pound of muscle. But it's not true if you eat under that. Isn't that an interesting little fact? Okay, so we're going to look at this guy on the left here, and I just want to give him a pat on the back for being in the gym and putting the work in. And we all know this guy. I'm going to have you raise your hand if you do. The guy that you see on the treadmill, you see on the elliptical, every day you go into the gym. Every time you're there, he's there. So it means he's there way more than you. And you've seen him there on that same treadmill and the same elliptical for 4 years, and for this 4 years, he's had the same 40 pounds to lose. Always on there, always putting in the time, always doing the work, never any results. So cardio on its own, over an extended period of time, actually produces a hormone called cortisol, which makes it impossible to burn fat. So that's why Club 500 is 30 minutes. That's why it's intense, okay? To get us out of that chronic cardio state and get us more into the testosterone state. So we see our guys on the right here, the contrast to our guy on the left. And the guys on the top, the Aboriginals, never set foot in the gym in their life. The guy on the left is probably spending 20 hours a month plus in the gym. And the guys on the right have, much better physiques. They look like athletes compared to that. And that's because they've hacked their hormones. So the workouts they do and the foods they eat optimize their testosterone. And they do that by sprinting, walking, and lifting heavy stuff. Let's look at those guys on the top, all right? So they're not going to a gym, but they are, walking to track down a water buffalo. And then they find the water buffalo, and then they are fighting it. They're throwing spears, they're shooting arrows, etc. And then they are carrying that heavy carcass back to their camp. And then after they eat the heavy carcass, then they have to help their brother-in-law build a shelter. So they're lifting heavy rocks and stuff. So they're basically lifting heavy things. They're sprinting and they're walking, and that optimizes their testosterone versus our guy on the left here who is doing the chronic cardio and who is producing cortisol and never able to get any results. So Club 500 is optimizing the hormones by doing the movements that we have listed in the program. Next, we're going to talk about food a little bit, okay? And I got to introduce a concept to you, which is that we have educated intelligence and we have innate intelligence. Educated intelligence is what we have learned and observed through our world. And innate intelligence is what was put there by God from the beginning so that our body runs on its own. I don't have to think about the water that my kidneys are filtering. I don't have to think about the chemicals that my liver is producing. It just does it on its own. That's innate intelligence, okay? So we look at the top two pictures, and our educated intelligence can tell us, on the left, that's a chicken wing. On the right, that is a wing nut. So it's food on the left, not food on the right. Okay, so I know not to eat the wing nut. I know that chicken wings are food and that wing nuts aren't. Our innate intelligence sees it a little bit differently. Okay, so we look at the bottom and we see Skittles and steak. So food and food. That's what our educated intelligence is telling us. Our innate intelligence sees the Skittles and the steak as completely different sets of information. So we see food as edible or not edible. Our innate intelligence sees food as information. Okay? And we have the ability to hack our hormones by giving our body the right information. Our body gets way different information from the bag of Skittles once we eat it than it does from the steak once we eat it. And let me just tell you right now, those guys that were, the Aboriginal guys that look like athletes even in their later years, they're sending their body the information that the steak and the chicken is giving them versus the information the Skittles giving them. That's how they look like that. That's how they perform like that. That's how they are still giving back to their community even in their later years. So we talked about insulin being the most important hormone of the 7 metabolically active hormones that are identified. How is glucose introduced to us? What is our biggest source of glucose that affects our insulin? And unless you're eating 9 Snickers bars for breakfast and ice cream for lunch, likely you're getting most of your glucose from grains, from breads, from pastas, etc. Grains are the biggest source of glucose in our diet, and we hear, oh, those are complex carbohydrates. Well, all a complex carbohydrate is a long chain of glucose hooked together. And your body has a very easy time of breaking down that chain on a organic chemistry level. It starts to break down those bonds even when you're chewing. And so you eat some pasta, you eat some bread, and your insulin will spike. And again, we cannot lose fat when insulin is present. And insulin then takes that extra glucose stores in our cells, which basically our liver turns very quickly into triglycerides, fancy word for fat. And so the biggest intake we are getting are from grains, breads, pastas, etc. In our entire blood volume, a safe amount of glucose to having a normal glucose, let's say 95 milligrams per deciliter fasting glucose, you should have about 2 tablespoons of sugar absorbed over your entire blood system. An average adult has, five-ish pints of blood. So throughout that 5-ish pints of blood, there is 2 tablespoons of glucose absorbed in there if you have a healthy blood sugar. Eating the standard American diet, food pyramid, we all learned in school, eating that way produces 2 cups of glucose. Okay, most people don't even eat that healthy. Okay, so say you eat McDonald's and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Instead of even just trying to be good and doing the food pyramid, even if you're trying to be good and doing the food pyramid, you're still getting 2 cups of what you're supposed to have 2 tablespoons of. So that's a lot of work for your insulin to do, a lot of work for your pancreas to do, and it creates things like insulin resistance that we have to deal with now. And that is putting a big tax on our own health and our own society. What to eat? The good things to eat to optimize our insulin. Again, we're hacking our hormones here. The base of our pyramid isn't breads anymore or pastas or grains. It's vegetables. Okay, broccoli, carrots, celery, etc. That's the base of our pyramid. Where we're getting most of our calories from, because it's a lot more dense nutritionally, is meat. Good, clean meat. Then we get nuts, then we get seeds, then we get fruits, and fruits is at the bottom for a reason, because they have a lot of sugar in them, okay, so they're pretty good. They're not going to do any of the stuff that grains might do in terms of having anti-nutrients, etc., but they will keep you from losing weight. So if your goal is to lose weight, you stay away from the fruits until you've gotten to your goal, then you can add them back in when you're just maintaining. Then we can also add things like low glycemic starches, and those are things like sweet potatoes, which have a lot of glucose in them, but it actually is difficult for the body to break that down. So it doesn't do it very fast, so your insulin and your glucose never spike. It's just a nice steady drip of glucose. Are all carbs bad? No, should you never eat carbs again? I'm not saying that. I am saying, though, if you want to be optimally healthy, you got to keep it below 150 grams of carbs per day, and you need to really focus on eating the right food. Okay, those gentlemen, those Aboriginal gentlemen, right? They maybe ate berries, which was their only source of sugar, and that was only a season. Now, there's no Snickers season anymore, right? I can go down to the store and get one whenever I want. So we have to do the discipline. that those guys had built into their lifestyle. The state of health in our country right now is not great. Our country is honestly about to be bankrupt by our healthcare system in terms of us being not a very healthy country anymore. We spend 4 times as much on healthcare than we do on our military. So 4x more on the healthcare of our citizens than we do on our military. We have the number one military in the world, no question about it. So if we're spending 4 times as much on healthcare, shouldn't we have the number one healthcare in the world? No. We are 37th. Excuse me. We are number 37, healthiest country in the world, even though we spend more money than anybody else by a factor of 2. So, really poor results for the amount of money we're investing in this. Why is that? If I have to summarize it and say it quickly, there's lots of reasons. Again, I could talk about each of these slides for about 2 hours, but the main reason is because our healthcare system is reactive. Waits for there to be a problem, then addresses it. That becomes really expensive. Our military is proactive. It identifies problems and starts fixing them before they become one. That's why Club 500 is proactive, a much better approach. 95% of why we are sick, why our country's in a healthcare crisis, is due to lifestyle preventable diseases. 95% of the things that have people in the hospitals, in nursing homes, dying early, missing work, etc., are lifestyle preventable. And that's not just Dr. Matt saying that, the natural health guy. That's from Harvard, that's from Johns Hopkins. Pretty much everybody that looks into this is 95% of what's making us sick is preventable through lifestyle change. That's encouraging. Club 500 is going to bring all of this together. I'm so excited to have this all under one roof, under one umbrella. It's just tremendous what's going to happen. Everybody that we're going to touch is going to be healthier. They're going to be happier. And they're going to be an asset to their community for many more years than they would have been otherwise. They're going to be able to be giving to their families. They're going to be able to give to their communities and their world and their country. It's amazing what's going to happen. All the movements are made to produce hormones that reduce fat and start building muscle. All of the foods that we're going to be eating are intended to balance insulin, and we're going to have choices for people. We can just tell them what we've told you and what we can even expand on that. We can give them all the foods to get, and they can do it on their own, or we can hold their hand and do it for them. And that's going to be the cool thing, because there's going to be so many people that want that in their life. They want that experience that the Hollywood actor gets when he gets cast in a movie and he gets a nutritionist and he gets a personal trainer and he gets a dietitian, he gets a doctor. We're going to give everybody that with Club 500, and it's going to be amazing. They're going to have the experience that Chris Pratt had when he lost 50 pounds and got a six-pack for Starler. They're going to have that opportunity at Club 500. We're going to take care of the body, mind, and spirit, and we're going to teach people how to do that so it'll take care of them. We're going to do testing to see what their cholesterol is, before and after they make these changes, and what their blood sugar is, and their blood glucose, and their blood urea nitrogen, and we're going to look at their phase angle and see how healthy their cells are, and we're going to look at all this really cool stuff. We're going to take care of them as a whole person, and we're going to make their lives better by helping them accomplish what they want and helping them to realize the gift that God gave them of health has been there the whole time. We just have to remove the interference and let that health come out. The biggest miracle I see on a day-to-day basis is it doesn't matter how poorly you've treated yourself up to now. The second you start adding health into your life, your body starts to react. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And Club 500 is going to put that on steroids. We're going to see people transform through the power of hacking their hormones, through the power of moving correctly, and through the power of community. Thanks, guys.